This is TWiT.
Hey, buddy, are you a geek? Are you a tech enthusiast? Then I would love to invite you to join a tech community like no other. You can gain exclusive access to our incomparable quality tech content for just $7 a month with Club TWiT. As a member, you'll enjoy all TWiT TV shows ad-free, plus access private video feeds for insider shows like Home Theater Geeks and so much more. Dive into the members-only TWiT Plus bonus feed for behind-the-scenes content, club discussions, and special events. But here's the best perk. Join our incredible Discord community to watch live show productions, chat with hosts, and participate in exclusive members-only activities. It's your backstage pass to the world of TWiT. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or a lifelong learner, Club TWiT elevates your knowledge while entertaining your interests. Get 2 weeks free when you sign up now for $7 a month and unlock unparalleled access at twit.tv/clubtwit. That's twit.tv/clubtwit. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you and welcome to the club. So we should tell people who are just tuning in, this is Stacey's book club. There's Stacey. And the book today, Adrian Tchaikovsky's Service Model, by unanimous acclamation of our Club TWiT members. Thank you, Club TWiT members. Jason Snell is joining us because he loves the book. And actually, I enjoyed it quite a bit too. I was just being silly.
Okay.
And yeah. And we should also say that if you have not read the book, we will make no attempt not.
Lights off. We're firing off the spoiler horn here.
We will make no attempt not to spoil it for you.
We're not going to leave you in the dark, so to speak.
I don't even know how to turn it on again.
I think we will leave them in the dark. That's the point of a spoiler, right?
Well, the TWiT bug is still aglow, but I'm not. So,
oh dear.
Stacey, why don't you kick this off now that I've done the disclaimer?
I love it. So we're not spoiling. Is that the disclaimer?
No, we are spoiling.
Okay, good.
We have to, because how can you discuss a book without talking about it?
Well, that's what I was like, oh, this is unfair. Okay, so this book is basically about, I feel like it's what would happen if we let a capitalistic AI with no forethought whatsoever govern our society, but a very humorous look translated through the lens of, I would say, Jeeves and Bertie Wooster, maybe. And so what you have is this robotic butler, that would be Jeeves, except he's not Jeeves because he's not as smart as Jeeves was. Let's just say in the style of wandering around trying to find a new job because somehow he inadvertently murdered his master. And this kicks us off into this sense of oh my gosh, what is happening in this world? And he goes through and starts trying to get a new job, get fixed, because obviously murdering his master was an error of some sort and he can't figure out what it is. And then I'll say shenanigans ensue, and it becomes increasingly clear that every automated robot in this society is basically stuck in a bureaucratic hell. And as part of his effort to get unstuck, he meets this character called the Wonk, who is a girl, but he doesn't register that it is an actual person.
No, he thinks it's a robot to the bitter end, doesn't he?
Yeah. And then they go on a journey together.
Do they ever?
Do they ever? They go on many journeys and much fun. And to me, this is what? A buddy movie set in the dystopian future?
I like it. It is.
Starring a haphazard robot who...
He's a little C-3PO in a way, yeah? Because he's kind of a protocol robot. He's a robot for...
Yeah, he's literally a robot butler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's his job.
He kills his master and then... but doesn't quite understand that he's killed his master. I mean, it is I don't know. This book... one of the reasons I love this book is because... it is simultaneously, it's what you said, Stacey. It is simultaneously about a robot apocalypse and the end of the world, but it's also it's funny. It's a little bit, you got to laugh to keep from crying, but you do laugh. And and it is episodic. It reminded me of like Candide, something like that.
Yeah.
Where
Innocent Abroad. Yeah.
It's a series of events that you just going from one ridiculous thing to another and another setup and another setup. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you felt about the very beginning of the book, but the beginning of the book, I'm like, it's detailing like the robot thought process, right? And I thought to myself, he's not going to do this for the whole book, is he? And he does. Like, you have to think like a dumb robot who's smart enough to kill, but not smart enough to understand that person in a cardboard box who goes beep boop is not a robot, but a person pretending to be a robot. You got to find that middle ground there.
He's also puzzled because he murdered his master, but it wasn't on his task list. So he doesn't really understand how it could possibly have happened.
I couldn't have done that.
And I love the fact that the human is so, like, he's so robot and the human is so human, like having this whole mythology about like, oh, you have this error mode that is turning you into like a conscious individual. Like the human is just like, you're just like me, you're becoming human. And the robot is so clearly not. It is this wonderful, like, a lot of humor comes from that. So
right, we want that transcendent moment where the Data turns out to be human or whatever, and it's like he's a robot. I mean, he's an interesting robot who is because of the thing that causes the apocalypse, like becoming more, but it's not like, don't get your hopes up. Like, it's literally every single chapter of this book is don't get your hopes up. I know you think that maybe if they go to the library or if they go to find the king in the palace that it's all going to be good. It's not. It's just not. It's going to be bad.
They refer to the Wizard of Oz a couple of times, and it is a little bit like that as well, because they're off to see the wizard, who turns out to be not much of a wizard after all. And then she's kind of like Dorothy, and he's kind of like the Tin Woodsman, but there's no Cowardly Lion as far as I could tell. He's the combination of the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodsman.
And then at the very, like, there's very much a tonal shift after the library when they go down and they meet the king. Is he the king? Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
After the library, they find the bureaucratic center of all of this, and they find the root cause of all of this, including why, by the way, the robot's name when he was the gentleman's gentlebot was Charles. After he leaves, he can't be Charles. Charles owns the house, owns the name. So he takes the name Uncharles. So we'll refer to him as Uncharles. Uncharles learns why he did kill his master and understands now why. And it's this evil fella who is another robot, but he's a robot with supreme authority. Right. Which is a kind of an interesting metaphor.
Yes, high level of privileges, like escalated privilege level is how it's sort of put. It's like he's level 9. He's God, basically. And it's wild.
It's also, is it, do you think, intended to be a cautionary tale about AI?
Only in the most like blatant beat you over the head with. I mean, it's a cautionary tale for AI the same way we've had cautionary tales about AI since the beginning of time. I mean, like, look at Foundation, look at
I guess so, yeah.
I mean,
I think it's how banal it is, how silly it is. I think that's the point, is right. How does the robot apocalypse happen? And by stepping you through Charles's way of reasoning, which is profoundly logical and from a human's perspective profoundly stupid, you realize that the robot apocalypse kind of happens because they're just smart enough to kill you, but they're not smart enough to understand. And that like, we want the idea of the downfall of the human race to be like this grand operatic thing, and it turns out that it's ridiculous and dumb and like, you don't get to be heroic and are murdered by your new creation, which is going to go on and conquer the galaxy. It's like, no, you did some programming bad, and now you're all dead.
Well, and Jemmer B's making that point throughout the book. He was appalled, he says, by what appeared to be very poor programming. Yeah. Had they never heard of trapping for errors to test a task to see whether its subsequent event occurred as expected and statistically determine when to adjust the task? If it doesn't feel like it was written by a computer programmer. I mean, that's that's obvious. But it does feel like it was written by somebody who has experienced the dunderheaded stupidity of computer-based code.
It's not just computer-based code, it's bureaucracy.
Yes.
If you theme out this book, it is like, what happens when you let a system take over, whether it's robots or whether it's a rules and regulations, and you don't allow for humanity to come through? Which is kind of where we are, right?
Our programming.
The robots were just bureaucrats, basically.
Yeah.
Even on Charles was bureaucratic in his persistence.
I love that scene where he goes to the robot factory or whatever, where he's supposed to be like, get in line.
Yeah.
And we'll fix you soon, except the line extends for infinity. And they occasionally just come out and destroy a bunch of robots and sweep them away. And then the line continues. And all the robots are just happy to stay in the line. And it is a satire of our bureaucracy.
Right.
As well as how stupid the robots are. And like, they're dumb because of their programming. What's our excuse?
Well, and when they go to see God, you have to take a number, right? And there are all these robots who have taken numbers and are just patiently waiting literally for years because no number has ever been called. So when Charles arrives, takes 23, the wonk says, what are you doing? You can see no one's been served. But that's what you have to do is take a number.
That's the rule.
So the wonk says, well, I guess the next one will be 24. Oh, it is. 25. Oh, it is. 20. And then takes a bat and beats the number dispenser. And then when they finally do get into God, God says, well, you passed. That was the final test.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
That's a terrible spoiler. I hope to God you've read this book before.
I mentioned Candide, which I read in college, and which is, if for people who are like, oh, Voltaire, that sounds really classic. No, it's actually a very funny book that's very much like this. Okay, for our audience, I'll give you another one, which is, I got Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibes from it. It is the
not as smart.
Is he knows what he's doing. It's meant to be funny. While it's terrible, it's also meant to be ludicrous. And so, and Douglas Adams does that with bureaucracy and people following rules to stupid effect. Plus it's British, but more than that, it's got that vibe.
Imagine an entire book written with Marvin, the paranoid android.
Yeah.
The whole book.
Oh, no, because Marvin was smart.
Oh, that's true. He had the brain the size of a planet.
Yeah, Marvin was not going to take a number. He might take a number, but he would just sit there and
So when I say cautionary tale, I think it is a cautionary tale in the sense of, and somebody brought this up, the slippery slope, that this is a tale about how we use robots, depend on robots. That's why the robots had such power. And eventually what happens is it all falls apart because we've given too much power to the robots. So that's the cautionary part, right?
Well, yeah, we've ceded our decision-making skills and agency to these automated programs, which you can see that today in, like, I'll just use my favorite example of health insurance claims authorizations, right? Denying, that's an automated process, but now we've built an automated process that fights back against that automated process. And you see, and we're like, in the media, we're publishing things like this all the time. Like, our bots will fight bots. And I'm like, this is not where we really want to go as people. This is just going to create this weird system that plays by escalating yet knowable rules that does not allow for any sort of agency or extra understanding of the issue.
I don't know if either of you remember the 70s, I think, movie Being There with Peter Sellers.
Oh, yeah.
That's the other vibe I got from this, right? Because that is about a guy who stumbles. He's kind of a childlike intellect, even though he's a grown man. And he just sort of has a series of misadventures that continue his failing upward until he's basically does he end up as the president of the United States? He ends up that level, but he's just a simpleton. But there's all these chains of misunderstandings, and the system that Uncharles reminded me of that character too, right? He's not a genius here. He's just trying to make his way. He doesn't know what's going on around him really, but the system leads us down this path with him anyway.
And like Chauncey Gardner and Voltaire's character, he's good. He's innocent, but he's good. His good-heartedness, his kind-heartedness kind of gets him through.
He did murder his boss.
Well, that's how it starts.
But
that's the last person he murders in the
he doesn't even understand that.
He doesn't know. Yeah, that was really sad. I was like, oh no, did this happen? I was like, this did happen.
That is the fun. That scenario is the funniest part. In fact, it really kicks it off because you go through his day and then he's kind of dawning on him that something has gone terribly wrong. By the way, his master is one of the last humans left, maybe the last free human left. It's pretty much a world of robots trying to serve humans. In fact, his quest is throughout the book to find a human that he can be the valet for. Right. It's too bad he doesn't become. Does he become the Wonk's valet at the end? Not really.
Not really. I don't think the Wonk wants. And I was going to just say, I love the Wonk's dynamic with Uncharles. I really thought
she's great. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. And I would like to see this made into a movie sometime, because I just think it'd be fun to watch this aggressive little girl who's like, I don't know if she's really little, but teenager? I picture a teenager.
She feels like a 14-year-old. Now, I'm curious because, you listened to it. We both listened to it. So Jason's the one who read it. Jason, did you grok that she was a girl right away?
It was a process, right? It starts with this is definitely a human.
Yeah,
that's
obvious. And then I think there are some context clues that you can figure out that it's the Wonk is female, but it takes a little bit longer, I think, for me to get there. But he's just laying it there. I mean, he's not in a hurry to give you more information about the Wonk, which is good because it kind of it doesn't leave you as far behind as Uncharles, but it leaves you behind a bit.
Right.
Yeah, you can sort of sympathize a little with Uncharles. You're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Wojo points out that in the Discord that there is that farm.
Yes, and I think that this is interesting because this is in a little parable within the parable of what authoritarianism looks like. Right. The humans on the farm are basically forced labor. And the robots are forcing them to do it.
They're pointless force. They're not even doing. I mean, they're play acting labor. The leader of the farm, who thinks he's running a museum of antique behaviors with actual humans in it, sets up their commute so it's long, miserable, and boring. Even though where they're going to is right next door, they give them a long, miserable commute because that's how it was in the old days. It's pretty funny. Did people really like this book? You know what we could do? And Jason, I know you can't stay for the whole hour. So just whenever you want to dial out, please do. But we do have a couple of club members who would like to join the conversation. Shall I add them?
Fun. Yeah.
Yes.
Our good friend Joe Esposito is here.
Hello, everybody.
Our sticker
Is my audio working?
Yes.
I don't know if my audio is working. Okay.
Your audio is working. And I don't see a camera from Bruce, but let's see if we hear Bruce. Bruce, can you hear us? No. So neither his camera nor his audio is working. Bruce, keep working at it and we'll put you in if we can see, as soon as we can see you. And I do apologize for those just joining us. I know I'm in the dark. I've opened
But he doesn't know why.
I've turned on the overhead lights. I know why. My key light died. But anyway, it's kind of a parable because I'm at the mercy of these machines.
I'll throw out one other thing. Tchaikovsky knows what he's doing here because each chapter is actually named for a writer whose style he's sort of referencing. So that Bureaucracy is a chapter called K4FK-R, which is Kafka. And there's a
Dante, right?
Yeah. D4FK, and then there's 4WL, which is Orwell. So like he's making these references too, right?
Now I have to listen to the book over again.
I think you probably have to read it. We didn't get chapter.
Well, no, he said it, and I thought that's interesting. It sounds like it means something, but I didn't get Kafka or Dante. Now that you say it, of course, the 4 is A, and now
so he knows what he's taking us on a little tour of
that's cute
riffing on all of these.
Oh, now I have to reread it. Yeah. Joe, what'd you think?
You know what? I was enjoying it until the end, and I thought the end put it way over the top. The end was so good that it took a book that I was already having fun with, and I went, whoa, now this is impressive, because that whole, and it also helped. I was listening to Tangerine Dream's Keep soundtrack for some reason that was not intentional. And so it was kind of ramping up, and there was all this choral stuff. And it was like, well, this is all synced, like something's going on. But that ending was fantastic. All the stuff the judge was talking about as far as society, and I'm just the end point of what I was made to be. Why are you upset with me? And
the judge is God, by the way.
Yeah.
And
right.
Real spoiler, that's who caused Charles to kill his master.
And that was the part I didn't know if we get an answer to it. I would have been fine if we didn't, if we'd never found out what the instigating part of that was, if Charles had just done it or had been something random, I would have been fine with that. So then when the judge said it, I went, oh, okay. So that I think more is to make Charles more sympathetic. He didn't really murder his master. He was kind of forced to. And that makes it terrible when he's got the wonk and he's like dragging her around and trying to choke her and everything. So I really liked it. Like I said, it was good all the way through with that ending. That ending sealed it for me. I thought it was fantastic.
Jammer B deciphered all the chapter titles. He said he didn't think about it till the last one, Dante. The others were Christie. I don't know who Christie is. Christie, Franz.
Agatha Christie? Like a mystery?
Agatha Christie.
It is.
Oh, it was a mystery.
Yeah.
Oh, then Kafka, George Orwell, Voorhees, and then Dante. That's interesting. Yeah, so that is a really sly little thing that
ambitious.
Adrian Tchaikovsky threw in.
I wanted to mention Tchaikovsky. People haven't read other Tchaikovsky. Like
I haven't.
I was just going to say this.
He's a really good science fiction writer. His children series is really great, where he's obviously very well read, but he's written some really good kind of harder sci-fi novels. I think he's also got a fantasy series, and he's got a whole bunch of novellas that he's written that are amazing, including what's the name of it? Damn, I'm not gonna be able to remember it now. There's one he's done that is one of my favorite things of the last few years, and it's literally it's a novella where there's a guy who's sent on a sleeper ship to a planet, and the people there are humans who colonized it so long ago they don't remember that they didn't evolve there. And it's told in alternating chapters where, from the people on the planet's perspective, it's a fantasy story, and from the guy's perspective, it's science fiction, but it's the same story. And it just blew my mind. Like, he's brilliant. He's got a new book coming out called Alien Clay, which is like going to a planet and trying to make first contact, but it's not about that. I read that. I think that's coming out. I think I read that on NetGalley. Anyway, he's very versatile. So I would also say that if you're looking at this and thinking this seems a little highfalutin, like, he's got so many other good novels. If you have not tried Tchaikovsky and or any other Tchaikovsky, I highly recommend it. He is one of our best.
I'll have to try some more. I have to admit, not knowing his works, I kind of thought that maybe this was a short story that went a little long. And
no, he writes such episodic sci-fi. Like, I was actually surprised when I started listening to this book. It was absolutely not what I was expecting.
Oh, interesting.
I was like,
it's very different. Huh?
This is funny. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm in for it now. Let's go. But it was surprising.
So, okay. So you had suggested it, but you hadn't read it when you suggested it.
No, I had read it. So when I
see.
first read it, I still was like,
he's British, as one might think if you listen to it.
Oh, and the novella that I was mentioning is called Elder Race, and it is absolutely one of the best things I've read in the last 5 years. It's short. It's really a novella, but it's the concept of sci-fi and fantasy, and he's comfortable in all these media. And the children's series is wild because it's people, after there's been sort of a fall of civilization and then rebuilding, they go out and they find places where people are supposed to have colonized other planets. And what they find there is not people, but like evolved animals from Earth. So there's like a planet. I mean, basically the first one is it's a planet of spiders, and it's amazing. It really is that you spend half the time with the people and half the time with the spiders. It's really good. This is like, I mean, it kind of gave me David Brin a little bit vibes.
Love Brin,
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously erudite. I have to give him more credit now that I know the chapter titles, and maybe go back and read some more of his stuff. He has written quite a few books, including a number of series.
I don't know how he does it.
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, he's
Joe-
definitely.
Joe, have you read any other Adrian Tchaikovsky stuff?
No, but I will now because I was really impressed with this. I've heard the name. I'm sure somebody has probably told me, "Oh, you should read something of this author." But this was the first one, and I was kind of like Stacey in the opening. I really wasn't sure where it was going to be going, and I read it. I did not listen to it, so I read it. But then there was a point, maybe halfway through, I started seeing it like Phil Tippett was animating it like Mad God. I started to have this animation for everything, and I thought, yeah, I could see this as an animated like Spider-Verse type of style thing really easily. This seems primed for an adaptation so easily for either a series or like even a movie, because it's very visual. There's a very distinct kind of changing of settings, like when he gets to where the armies are and the thing is bursting and all the things are flying off. And I was like, it's very visually well written, where I'm picturing everything really clearly and I understand where everybody is and what's going on. So I loved it. I thought it was great. But this was the first one.
Marvelous moment when all the librarian robots start to throw themselves into the incinerator. Actually, really marvelous moment when you realize that first you think this library that they've discovered, in fact, it was where the wonk wanted to go because she wanted to figure out what's going on and it should be in the library, has been collecting all of the human works, all of them, video, audio, books, collecting them all to make an archive that will last forever. But of course, there can only be one copy of each because you don't want any discussion, any diversions with modified copies. So there's one copy of each. And in order to save energy and save time, they break it all down to bits and then sort it. So when they finally, when the wonk gets a printout from the library, it's all 11111100000.
Oh my God.
111111. It's like, so, oh my God, you moronic robots, you.
Yeah, that is a great example of the tone of this for people who are wondering if you haven't read it. That's a little Hitchhiker's Guide. It gets dark. Like that's I love that because it's funny and it's got its sense of humor, but it is not going to flinch away from like, oh, they collected, and you're like, the library, finally civilization will be saved. And they're like, yeah, essentially, yes, we collect all the books and then
destroy
them.
Absolutely destroy them.
God,
we destroy them.
It gets real dark, but in a funny, again, it's very much, you got to laugh to keep from crying, a kind of despondent laughter, but I loved, it was a really good feel. I like that vibe.
Yeah, I think it's quite wonderful. Now that I've read it and you guys explained it, I'm liking it.
I'm sad that we had to explain it to you.
I am sad that I had to learn what it meant because I should have known better. I listened to it, I enjoyed it, but I was very focused, unfortunately, on the surface of it and not. If I had seen the chapter titles for what they were, I might have been better.
I'm gonna throw in another comp here, which I did in the Discord, and we're talking about it now, which is the other thing that his Children of Time series reminds me of, in addition to Bryn, is Vernor Vinge, like Deepness on the Sky, Fire Upon the Deep. Those books are kind of like that too. They're so anyway, yeah, highly recommended, but and not like service model at all. Although his next book, like I said, Alien Clay, that's also a standalone. He's done a bunch of series, but these novellas that he did are standalone. There's another one in addition to the one that I mentioned before, which was Elder Race. He did one called, what was it called? See, I'm reading. He did all of these novellas that are about kind of like terrible kind of parallel universes, and they're very good. And all of his short stuff is standalone too. So he doesn't just write series, because I know some people are turned off by people want to dive in and read the whole series, and other people are like, it's too much. And so this is standalone. His next one is standalone. He does some of those, plus he does the series.
If you were going to recommend one other
Tchaikovsky, I think Elder Race is amazing, and it's short because it's a novella. And it stands alone.
Audible has 64 titles for him. Some short, some long.
Because he does write these shorter works too.
Right.
Yeah, the Children of Time series is really good. Like, yeah. That's way more science fiction-y than, I mean, I guess it's not funny. No. But
let's add one more person to it. Joe, do you want to stick around or do you want to take off?
I can if you want. I can stick around.
Stick around while we add. I don't know what this is going to look like. We've never done 5 people.
Pentabox.
Oh, there it is, Bob. Hello, Bob. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you. That means we can add one more for a sexta box. Bob, what'd you think of the book?
I really like the way that that it just sort of eased into Charles and his life, and I loved all that repetition where they were the house and he were talking, and they every day it would be the same thing over and over again, and it just really got you started in the whole thing. So yeah, and again, I was blown away when they looked at the first 50% of all the books that had been archived, and they were all zeros, and the last 50% was all ones.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
You sorted it. Yes, we've made perfect copies.
Oh my God.
Ever be lost.
Well, that's what you say about the beginning. That's what I meant when I just distinctly remember reading it and thinking, surely he can't go on like this, right? Like, because it's very much like a robot, literally like, well, I had to do this, but I put it on my list, and then my next task is this and all that. And it's this kind of like really stupid but logical process that leads to stupid outcomes. And I thought, surely it can't go on like this. And it absolutely.
That's why I felt like it maybe was a short story at first, because that was almost a perfect set piece. Like, I thought, that's all you have to say. I mean, these guys, as he says, he first of all, Tchaikovsky does the voices wonderfully. So it is worth listening to the audiobook. Because House talks like this. and Charles is very perky, like C-3PO. And Charles asks House for the mistress's travel plans. And House says, Charles, the mistress has no travel plans, as she hasn't for the last 17 years, because there is no mistress. And Charles goes, okay, checks that off.
Yep.
It's really wonderful. And I thought just the first two chapters. The second chapter, it's funny, begins with the same sentence as the first chapter. And I was listening to it, I thought, oh, whoops. And I went back and I realized, oh no, it's just an endless repeat of the same thing over and over and over.
But I thought that was smart too, because then after that opening chapter, I never really thought on Charles would become the kind of breakout sentience that I think the Wonk kept waiting for.
Right.
Because we had so much of him. No, this is the box I operate in. And this is the box I have to operate in. So, because I think some people probably kept waiting for that. Okay, something will happen. It will trigger him and he will go, wait a minute. Oh, well, and the Wonk clearly wants that, because that's the human response is, okay, there's an explanation. I like that too, that she was so fixated on there has to be a reason. There has to be some bigger reason why all this happened. Why are all these people dead? And in the end, it's not really all that big a reason. I loved when the judge was like, well, do you want me to lie? And give you a reason? I can make one up. And then she says no. And then we get the actual explanation, which is very unsatisfying, but narratively makes complete sense. So
knowing now that Tchaikovsky is literate changes a little bit, because, there's a traditional arc in almost all stories of a hero's journey where he starts dumb and gets smart. He goes through a bunch of stuff and gets smart. And this really violates that arc spectacularly. And just like you, Stacey, I'm waiting for him to catch on. And he never does. So there isn't a hero's journey in this. It's just, and that actually bothered me a little bit, because I thought, well, maybe you just don't understand how to write a story. There's got to be a plot arc, but maybe he's so sophisticated he's gone to the next level. That's what
we should have known when the book was called Service Model, right?
Yeah,
that he was going to be stuck in that for the whole thing.
That's all he is.
I was
that's all
disappointed too, because I not really. In the end, I believed it was what it should be, but
absolutely.
I kept wanting him. When he left, Wonk and went off to see God, I thought, oh no, he'll come around. He'll go back and find Wonk. And no, he just wanted a job.
To the bitter end, he just wants to serve.
He does do a couple things because he doesn't like them. And I think it's really, I think Tchaikovsky was kind of playing with us and stringing us along in our desires, because I'm trying to think, there was a situation that the Wonk was in and he didn't have to save her or protect her, but
he did.
I think it was in the library, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He figured out a directive that would get him there.
It bothers her. She says, you saved me. You do have a conscience. No, I just made sense in the context of my instructions. Jammer B says, Uncharles is continually questioning whether he's self-aware, which really you can only ask that question if you are self-aware. Jason agrees.
It's a very Mr. Spock kind of thing too, right? It's just like, aha, you do have feelings with Spock, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, but he says at one point to himself, he says, I'm thinking in ellipses. Most of my sentences are ending in ellipses more. I wonder why. And he just lets it go away. So we do see little kind of creeps of evolution, but they're not going to be the big jumps.
Ultimately, that's a tease. It's like, oh yeah, hero's journey. He's making progress. He's going to, at the end, no. So there's another spoiler for you.
They're not gonna save all those books either, Leo.
Oh no, they're gone. They're gone. They're ones and zeros, incinerated. Wow.
So what comes after? Like, there's a couple, partially because I read part of this, like, it's not really an allegory because I feel like we live in this times right now, but it is kind of an allegory for like the creeping nature of climate change. And like our slider is set all the way to optimize for like consumerism and price. And we're making all sorts of decisions there, if you think about it that way. And then, so I'm like, what comes after you've destroyed an entire world? I mean, there's no hope.
I think Uncharles tells us, because he says we shouldn't aim for justice. We should aim for kind and efficient, which I thought was a really optimistic way to end it, because we are in a sea of dead bodies and destroyed world and our own ruin. And that was probably the most optimistic small ending. And I liked that it came from him, where he said, well, let's aim for this. We don't want to fix everything as far as the way that the judge God did. We'll do it a different way, in a better way. So maybe
that's kind of in a way the moral, which is don't try too hard to be sophisticated, just be kind. Jammer B says, God's justice slider made me immediately think of our two-party system. The right wants the slider to move toward guilty. The left would prefer the slider move toward the innocent. And of course, the judge just, it's arbitrary. He slides it any which way he wants to. It's pretty wild. It's really pretty wild. Now I want to reread it. In fact, one of our Discordians said he had to read it twice before he really grokked it. Maybe that's the case. Yeah.
Well, and one of our Discordians hated it, but I think they hated it because they didn't find it funny. I was kind of curious.
Oh, come on. When the police detective with a melting face comes in and oh my God, that is such a comedy of errors. It's a little pantomime-y almost. It's so broad. But I quite enjoyed the police investigation.
I think there's some expectations there that you're not getting what you thought you were going to get. And
that's probably it.
This is so different from so many of the things that you might read, that I could see you going into it and being like, well, wait a second, what is this? And then not be in the right mood to see that it's absurd. I didn't expect it going in. And, like I said, that first chapter really primed me for how ridiculous it was going to be. And then I was ready for it. But I could totally see you saying like, what is this?
What's going on? Who are these
The
robots?
funniest moment in this whole book for me was when she took the number and he says, this is chaos. This is the most discordant thing I've ever seen. And I pictured Niles Crane as a robot saying, this is chaos.
Yeah.
And I don't usually laugh audibly at books, but I laughed when he said, this is chaos. This is the most unruly thing. And she said, really? This is the most unruly thing you've ever seen?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I love that. Towards the end, it's great.
This is Anthony Nielsen's passing along we are still having trouble getting we're streaming to TikTok. Hello, TikTokers. But we're having trouble getting the chat in. So Anthony's transcribing. He says, from TikTok, James, Digimarketer, a sophisticated writer, writes so as to gently reveal to the reader the unknown within them.
Love it.
Wow. From TikTok, no less. So.
Hey, don't denigrate the TikTok people.
Let's see. By the way, we do thank our Club TWiT members for making this possible. This is a Club TWiT production, but because we have this capability, we stream it to 8 different places: YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, Kick, and of course our own Discord for the Club TWiT. But that's only if you're watching it live. So if friends and family want to see this, they have to join Club TWiT, because that's where the recorded version will live on in the TWiT Plus feed.
I think I have to drop off, but this has been awesome. It's nice to talk to people who read this book that almost nobody I know has read. I appreciate it. It's great.
Well, Stacey, how can we get, so what we do at the end of this is we pick 3 more books, and we should get a pick from Jason, maybe.
Yeah, Jason, do you have a book that you've read recently? That
we do a vote of the club and then read one of the 3.
Jeez, you put me on the spot.
I know.
here.
I hadn't prepared you for this.
What?
Just a book. What, Stacey, what are your criteria for choosing?
Okay, well, we used to have a criteria where we did underrepresented authors. That has since gone by the wayside now that Leo's involved.
Because I want more white men, okay? If you don't mind.
We're skewing a little more heavily to the white men, but
no, we can do underrepresented or maybe undiscovered or, what
I try to do is more modern. Like I do try to pick more recent things.
Not Heinlein, not Asimov, not that kind of thing. But I think it's good to do stuff that people might not have heard of, right?
Well, and that was originally why we did this, because I was like, hey, there's some really great sci-fi being written that is not necessarily traditional sci-fi.
Yeah.
Although Leo does hate most of them. So
I'll throw one out that is going to be, it's timely, but it's also by a white guy. So take it as you will. The new Jean Le Carré novel just came out, written by his son, Nick Harkaway, who everybody's like, oh, his son is writing novels now. And it's like, Nick Harkaway is one of our best writers. And I would say the book I was telling everybody about before Service Model was last year's Titanium Noir, which is a sci-fi by Nick Harkaway and is excellent. So
Harkaway is John Le Carré's son.
Yes. And he has just written a book that was just published that is about Smiley and Carla and the circus. But he has his own career where he writes sci-fi and also literary and also very weird novels. And I think, I'll just throw out Titanium Noir. I think it's really good.
All right. Anything with the word noir in it, Stacey's going to like.
I do like noir.
Check it out.
Titanium Noir. We'll add that to our list of potentials.
Cool.
Jason, thank you so much. We'll see you Tuesday for MacBreak Weekly, 6colors.com. Jason Snell.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. We also thank Bob, who dropped off.
Good job, Stacey.
It's really nice to have a great bunch of people to talk about books. We love books.
Oh God, my head's so large. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, I can make it bigger. Watch this.
Oh, don't do that.
Ooh,
please.
okay,
it's bad enough.
Okay, I won't do that. I'll let you go too, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been fun. This has been a really wonderful book club, I think, even though I'm in the dark. But that's okay. I'm a white man. What would you expect?
I was going to say, you're in the dark on literally and apparently about the quality of this book going forward.
By the end of it, I came around to liking it. I think Jason nailed it, which is I had different. My expectations were of a kind of more standard sci-fi novel, and I liked the set piece of the first couple of chapters, but then I got a little tired of the endless journeying to no avail. That was part of it, but I did love the walk. The walk is a great character.
I can see how you feel, because that's how I feel every time I'm in an unreliable narrator situation.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't like that.
I just want to throw the book at the wall. I'm like, you just cheated as an author.
Yes.
Horribly.
Yes. I agree 100%. This was an interesting one because the voice was it wasn't first person, but it really was on Charles' point of view the entire way, wasn't it?
Yeah. You don't think that's first person?
But he didn't say me, I.
Oh, well, that was because he's a robot, I guess. Yeah.
Actually,
it was omniscient because the house. Oh, I guess the house was talking to Charles.
It was always from his point of view. Maybe the wonk even then the wonk was never. By the way, one wonderful moment was he thinks he's hallucinating because he's hearing the wonk. And
yes.
It's wonderful, and she's being the wonk. He's like, I've thought, wow, Charles has really nailed it. And then it turns out, no, she found a radio and she figured out a way to broadcast on Charles, who is so clueless that he just kind of, I'm hearing the wonk.
It's like, I'm channeling what the wonk would say.
This is what she would have said had she been here. Now that, again, with all of this, the more we talk about it, the more I like it, which is often a good reason to do a book club.
That's what a good book club should do. You're like, you open up your perspective.
I would never have known the chapter titles were famous authors. That's wild.
Man, that really like changed your everything.
It
feels
did.
like.
And another reason to reread it is to see how he reflects Dante's style and Kafka's style and Agatha Christie's style. That's kind of interesting to me. And Voorhees. That'll be very interesting.
Okay.
What else? Is there anything you would like to say, Stacey? Now that's just you and me.
Oh no, I was loving it.
Okay.
I feel like, yeah, I got nothing else to say. I enjoyed it tremendously. I'm really bad at book club, I'll be honest, because I'm just like, I like this book. What y'all think?
Are you in a material world, real life book
I
club?
am. I am in a real world book club. We just read Say. Great. It's an older book, but it's about the troubles.
Say it again, because they dropped out in the middle of the title.
Say Nothing.
Say Nothing?
It's
okay.
It was like
not to say nothing of the dog, but say nothing.
No, I think it's about to be a Hulu special too. Say Nothing: A True Story of Murder and Memory in Northern Ireland by Patrick Radden Keefe. It's real good. And
sounds wonderful.
Listen to it. It is an Irish accent writing or reading the book. So
you know what I really loved, and I highly recommend Frank McCourt's books on Audible.
Are you going to tell me you loved Angela's Ashes?
Angela's Ashes and Tis, because I can't remember if McCourt reads it himself. I think he does, and so it's a wonderful Irish accent, and it's a little bit more meaningful when you hear him tell the story, because it's a memoir. I like it. Oh, there goes Stacey. That sound means she's dropped out. Let me see. There she is. She's back.
I'm back.
You can't leave until you nominate 2 more titles.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I had planned a Halloween theme because I thought we were going to do this beforehand, but now Halloween's like next week.
Nobody's against reading spooky novels. We already have Titanium Noir, but I think you could do 3.
Well, no, we can do. We should just do 2 more. That's no big deal.
Okay.
Okay. I always like to have like a little theme going on here. So.
I like the underrepresented authors. I apologize for derailing that.
Oh, no. I love Adrian Tchaikovsky's books, so I was excited to talk about it. I'm not averse to it.
That's been my favorite, I have to say.
And
by the way,
I do think.
I know you hated the Bobaverse, and the 5th one came out, and I've been listening to it. I hate it too now. So it's fine. It's fine. By the 5th book, you know the shtick, and it's a patently shtick, and you go, okay, I'm enough of that shtick. So I'm moving on.
Yeah. Well, good for anybody who wants to. I don't know. Would y'all want? Okay. Do y'all want to? It's a time travel book. Is time travel enough to be sci-fi? Or
I love Connie Willis's books. I read her books. Kind of all of them, if I can. I really love that time travel. But as far as I'm concerned, it's your book club, Stacey. It doesn't have to be anything. It's whatever you want.
No, it has to be what people want to. People have to want to read it.
Well, they do get to vote. All the club members get to vote. So,
well, then we'll go with The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley.
I like the name.
Kalliane Bradley. Okay, I'm just going to tell you there's a hint of romance into this.
I know. Is there a good-looking fella with a bare chest and long hair?
No, I just like it's both a time travel, it's a spy novel, there's some romance.
I loved Outlander.
Okay.
Which is basically a romance.
My dad loves Outlander.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
It is. It's Diana Gabaldon's. It's romantic. It's a time travel novel, and it's romantic. I really liked it. So, who knows, right?
Yeah,
you can't tell. You can't tell.
Well, you can tell. Did you see this TV show?
I tried, and that was a bridge too far. Bridge too far. But I loved the book. So, and I didn't read all the books. I know there's many of them now, but I read the first couple, I think.
And let's see. Is a monster book okay for us?
Sure. Is there a golem in it?
Well,
I wish we'd do some Terry Pratchett. Does having Alzheimer's count as underrepresented? No, unfortunately.
No. I mean, if you want.
No.
Terry Pratchett is funny, and I like Terry Pratchett, but
no, let's do your stuff.
Fantasy,
Don't listen
right?
to me. Don't listen to me. Time travel. No, you did time travel. Now you want to do.
Well, I was going to do a
monster
book.
It's for Halloween. Is it scary?
No, it's a little too. No, I'm going to go for a harder science fiction.
I read, and I've mentioned before, I read the Hyperion trilogy, and I really fell in love with this guy as a writer. Talk about a guy who's very literate and weaves in. It turned out he was a high school teacher. Started telling
Dan Simmons.
Yeah,
he's so old. I read him in high school.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying, I want to tell you something. There's a story.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I loved his science fiction thing. And now it turns out he's also writes spooky stories. And I just downloaded for Halloween his book, Carrion Comfort, which gets very, very good reviews. I didn't realize he'd been around that long. Okay. So anyway, I just discovered, I found Hyperion because I saw somewhere somebody said this is the best sci-fi book ever. And so I read all three of them and I really loved them. Not because it was new. But let's do a new monster story.
I'm looking through and seeing.
So you want to be a wizard?
Do we want a wizard book?
No. James Hogan's Thrice Upon a Time, says TikTok Ed. By the way, TikTokers say you should have a TikTok channel, Stacey.
Oh, I really should, because I read like 3 books a week and I just give like succinct things. If I ever started a TikTok channel, that's actually what I'd be doing is like, here's Stacey's 3 minutes on a book. There's the brand new James Corey, who did The Expanse, has a new book and a new series. So I don't know how people feel, though, about reading book 1 of what is going to be a series over time. But I was going to pick that one up next.
What's it called?
The Mercy of Gods.
I stopped The Expanse because it felt claustrophobic to me. And it was a lot of politics. But I think James Corey is a marvelous writer. So I will definitely, with relish, be interested in The Mercy of Gods. So we have 3 titles now. Titanium, and Anthony, if you make a note of these, Titanium Noir, Ministry of Time, and The Mercy of Gods. The way this works, club members get to vote, only club members. We will put up a poll in the Stacey's Book Club section of the Club TWiT Discord, and you have, a few weeks to vote. And then we will, I'm surprised you listened to this on audio, Stacey. I thought you didn't like audiobooks.
Oh, no, I listened. I always have at least an audiobook and like 2 or 3 normal books going.
Yeah, audio is the only way I find I can get any reading done because I can do it while I'm doing other things. So. And
I'm not saying. Oh, look, they're saying not everything old is out of date. That is true. I just
very Yoda.
Like, I love that.
Not everything old out of date is.
But the point is to like bring in newer stuff because there's. I feel like a lot of science fiction, like speculative fiction, has broadened into this really interesting category where you get so many new stories that are not just space opera. I mean, I love a good space opera, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. So that's why you don't get your Dan Simmons, you don't get your Isaac Asimov, although, many of us have read
Dan
those.
Simmons is a little more current than Isaac Asimov.
Well, yeah. I mean, my mom probably read Isaac Asimov in high school.
Right. Right. Okay. I apologize for bringing him up.
No, it's really, I like the Hyperion books.
Yeah. I loved them.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah. And we'll see how his horror is with Carrion Comfort. I'll let you know.
Oh, I think I've read some of those.
So far, it's pretty good.
I feel like he had one that had cockroaches in it that scarred me for life. Like as a young, because again.
You read it in high school, I know.
No, I was going to say I probably read it in middle school.
See, but I mean, to be fair, I was middle-aged when you were in middle school. So it's not
Right.
it's not like that's that long ago.
I read it in middle school, okay,
Right.
which was maybe not the smartest thing I've ever done in my life, but
Okay. That is a lovely wrap on Stacey's book club. Now, I would kind of like to get this back. Well, your schedule is so busy. How's it going at CR, by the way? You having
it's
fun?
going great. We're
Good.
doing good things.
Good.
I'm excited.
Yay.
Yes, my schedule, well, November is crazy. I'm going to Turkey in 2 weeks, in a week and a half.
For work or for pleasure?
For fun. I'm going to Istanbul and
Oh, how exciting.
Ephesus.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know
Ephesus.
really how to say it.
We went to
Ephesus. I don't know
Ephesus.
how to say it.
Ephesus, the Library of Ephesus. You have to pose in front of the Library of Ephesus.
I want to see the terrace houses. I'm a
yeah.
sucker for ancient mosaics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Turkey is amazing for ruins. That's where Troy is, supposedly. But and I loved Istanbul. You've got the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. It's really a wonderful city to visit. Lots of history, and Topkapi Palace. Got to see that. Topkapi.
Yes.
Yeah. You're going to have fun. So how long are you going to go for?
Like 10 days?
Just the two of you, or are you bringing your daughter or your
Nope,
son
just the
or
two of
whatever?
us.
Just them. What do you call? I'm sorry. I need a. What do you?
I
what's
say
the
my
noun?
child.
Your child, of course. Duh.
My child. My kid.
Duh. Your kid. Duh. Stacey, thank you so much for being a part of the TWiT network, however ephemerally you are. We really appreciate your
Sorry.
contributions. No. I understand completely. And I'm thrilled that you are working for one of the most important publications around today.
And I don't even work on their publication.
I know. Well, you do the policy, which is even more important. Even more important.
I'm arguing all the time for crazy stuff. But
So
yes.
we'll try to book this in December. Now, not late December, early December. How's that?
Yeah, like mid-December. I'm back as of December 5th. My
Okay.
travel stops.
Okay. So, Anthony, maybe the second week of December. It gets a little crazy as we get closer to the end of the year, but I think we could do that. And it gives everybody enough time to read anything. You could read the whole Mercy of God series by then. But this is the first of the others.
But there's
are not
only,
yet.
it's just the
It's just
first
the
book.
one.
That's
Good.
that's the caveat to you guys. I'm like,
Do you want to do it Friday the 13th, December 13th, Friday?
oh, I could have kept my monster theme. Dang it.
Yeah. See? Go back to the monsters.
No. We've got our books. It'll be good.
Okay.
I'll tell you, let's see. But I can tell you, A House We Could Build a Nest In was a great monster book from the POV of a monster. I can tell you.
I love that. That's one of the reasons I love Grendel.
Oh,
because it's Beowulf told from the point of view of the monster.
Mom.
Was it A House?
And then The September House,
Okay.
which is a horror, it's a haunted house novel. You would probably enjoy.
You know what? Maybe we should veer into that.
No. I mean, it's not really sci-fi. It's horror.
Who cares? It's whatever you want it to be.
I see. But anyway, those are two really fun Halloween-y books. If you're
Oh, she froze again.
Uh-oh.
It looks like Anthony is already. Have you already put up the poll?
Yeah, I created the poll.
You are so fast.
Is it me that it keeps stopping? No, I'm just telling people who like books. If you like
It's
to read,
WebRTC.
It's WebRTC, and that's one of the reasons we don't use Reason for the bigger shows. But for the offhand shows like this, we kind of like doing that. So here, the poll is already up. If you're a Discordian, Anthony works fast. Let's just check this. Nick Harkaway and Nicholas Cornwell, The Titanium Noir, The Ministry of Time by Kalyan Bradley, The Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey. 2 weeks. Okay? Cast your votes,
Do it.
says AI Leo. Cast your votes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Stacey. You're the best. The bee's knees. We appreciate your joining us, and we will see you in a couple of months for Stacey's Book Club.
Oh, wait, type the name. Where am I typing this? Into the private chat? No.
The book from the monster's point of view.
Yeah, where is the chat function on this thing?
It's in Discord. Oh, you have to go.
She's looking in
the September
I'm not
house,
in Discord.
Right?
No, the monster's point of view is a house you can build a nest in. Hold on. Sorry, I wasn't on Discord tonight or today for some reason.
And we're glad to see that you still have your clickety-clackety keyboard.
Oh, I know. Let's see. Hold on. Someone you can build a nest in.
Someone you can build a nest in?
Someone you can build a nest in.
That's
by John
creepy.
Wiswell.
Whew. All right. We'll add those somewhere. We'll put those somewhere so that you can see Stacey's recommendations. Thank you, Stacey. There it is.
Thank y'all.
Right there. Right there. Those are the books. We will see you all on Sunday for TWiT, This Week in Tech, and December 13th. Put it in your day timer for Stacey's book club. Thanks, Stacey. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye, y'all.